Hi guys, welcome for my next little project on Hither Green TMD in O gauge. I've had this waiting for a while now, ever since I had the contemplation of the project, and it's a kit. We have a GJH Plant YOB. Always used to see these around the area quite a lot, so we're going to build one. The box is quite nicely packed. We have the wheel sets, the bogie frames, which are cast resin, some steps, handbrake wheels, fuel cans. I think these are the bogie bolsters, exhaust bits of horns, driver's seat, and a nice set of metal screw couplings to attach. We have a set of instructions identifying all the parts, which is quite clear, and the sequence in how to assemble them. Should be straightforward. And if we open the kit bag up, I've opened the other end already, some bits have fallen out. We have all the various parts, all cast resin, fuel tanks and crane bits, and some of the boom, the chassis, and for some reason some foam. I'm sure that might come out as to why we have a bit of foam. I think that's probably just for transporting. But anyway, that's what comes in the kit. And the package that fell on the floor was a set of nice white metal oleo buffers to go on it, all with the springs and everything else. So that's all good. But yes, I'm going to say that bit of foam there was just for transporting on the bottom here. We'll start with the first part that we're going to need, which is the floor. Now the floor, as you can see, is quite bowed. Now I am told on reasonable authority that if you heat it up in some hot water, some nice hot water for a little while, you can then straighten it out. So my first experiment is going to be see if I can straighten this out slightly. So I'll come back to you shortly. Okay, well, the hot water's had a bit of effect, but it's still not perfectly straight, and I don't think I will get it perfectly straight. So what we have here is the floor of the wagon. You've got some nice checker plate detail on there, and the letters of where each component fixes onto. Underneath fuel tanks, bogie mounts, there is a little bit of flashing on the end which needs to be cleaned off, and some extra balls of resin in there for some reason. How they got in there, I don't know. So I'm going to clean them off, and then I'll come back and we'll have a look at gluing the fuel tanks on the underside. So the extra balls I'm just going to clean off with my scalpel, and some pain at the corners. Nice sharp blade. Trying to do it without cutting our fingers off. So let's get a little lump out of there. too much cleaning. Not a lot to it. It's quite a clean moulding actually. Clean. I'll clean the holes in the back as well. Okay, now this end has got some lumps on there from when the mould, I assume, was filled. They need a bit more than a craft knife. So I'm going to get my file out. I'm actually going over it first. Took the worst off with the razor saw. I'm going to use this file to get the worst of it off. Cleaner and flatter, the better it is. Nearly there. It hasn't taken much effort. So that's pretty much cleaned most of that off. And that is now ready, if I can find some, for a little bit of sandpaper. Back with the sandpaper, but important job first, always remember, cup of tea. Got to be refreshed when you're doing this. And to make sure I keep it nice and flat, I shall wrap the sandpaper around the file. Just to try and keep it a bit flat. Just a little bit of moulding mark on this end, nothing major on this end. Just a quick little clean up. That's that nice. Every little mark out, being on the buffer beam, it will be quite visible when you paint it if you don't. Yeah, that's definitely got them all off. So there's no other bits that need sanding off. Or just a quick general look around. I reckon that is good to go. So, according to the instructions, on the assembly sequence 1, clean moulding F and G to remove mould feeds and superglue in position. So that is the underside F and G. Source them in the bag of bits. So it's quite obvious what parts F and G are with the great big F and G labels. This one being F will go on this side, fits in the recess and centrally on the central rail, and G being the same on the opposite side. So easy enough. I'll just clean the bottoms of these off and we'll get them glued on. So we'll start with F. We'll remove the F because we don't need the F anymore on the bottom. You know what it is. And then finally, a bit of fine sandpaper. Just to clean the mouldings off where it was made. So that is F, ready for gluing on. So out with my super glue. I suspect I'm going to move the leg. Yeah, you're on the move. We'll bring you back. Okay, I have my Loctite Professionals super glue, so I'll get some glue around. Quite simple. Just hold that on there till it grabs. Doesn't take long. And now we'll do the same with the G. Cutters here, we'll just take the excess bits off to make the sanding quicker. Quick bit of filing. Files really quick. It's quite soft stuff. And then with the sandpaper. And that is now ready to stick on that side. So that is that. I can see this going together quite quickly. I am still half debating whether to try to motorise this so that it is indeed a self-propelling crane, or to whether just fit lights to it that are working. So yeah, we'll wait and see. Okay, so the next part of this job is to fit components A, B, C, D and E on the floor. Now, if I'm going to be doing any digital things on this, then ideally I need to be thinking about that now, because I will need somewhere to hide a chip. So I am thinking I have room inside here for chip. So if I make item A removable, which will mean what I'll probably do is find I have somewhere some angle extrusion, and I'll do some angle in each end there so that I can screw them in from underneath to hold it in position. Therefore I can unscrew that with I'll fit a hole in underneath there as well, make a hole so that I can run some wires underneath, and I can fit a chip. Again, I could even do it on that part there, and the wires will come down in the centre, which will probably be better actually. I'll have plenty of room for a standard little chip. I have some chips spare lying around somewhere, I think, so yeah. So what I'm probably going to do is drill a hole under here, just so I'll run the chip wires through and have access in there to be able to fit that separately and remove it if necessary. I reckon that's going to be the way to go. So we'll clean these parts up ready. Now you don't need to watch me clean these all up again. Exactly the same, I'm just snipping off the extremely excessive bits here, save on the sanding time, things like that. And we'll come back in a minute once I have these all prepared. Okay, so I have cleaned up the components for the tanks and bits and pieces, the weight counterweights and stuff. What I've decided to do, because I am going to put lights on, these end weights I can't actually fit down yet, because I'm going to need to replace those moulded lights with LEDs and run some wires. So the two end ones I will leave off for a minute, and this main one I shall leave off for a minute, because obviously we're going to make them so they are removable, and we're just going to glue on these two for now, and then we'll go on to the next part. Okay, so I'm just going to run some super glue. I have sanded down the areas to give the glue something to key to. So this one overlaps there. Try not to stick myself to it at the same time. Sorry for the elbow. I'm just sticking to it and just squeezing in so it's straight, because a couple of the bottom edge is bowed slightly, so we'll just give it time for that to grip. So nice and even both sides. That's lovely. And this part, which we're obviously not going to glue on now, we'll glue on there like that. So we'll leave that one off, and we are going to glue on this one, so we need to make sure it's a good fit. Nice easy fit. Yep, he fits down nicely. So again, I've sanded that slightly, so that area there is keyed for the glue to stick to. And we'll run a bit of glue around it. And stick it on. We'll just hold it while it grips. Job's done. So I had to fill in a couple of little spots on there with some Humbrol model putty, because there was a couple of little holes in the moulding. So that is where we are. Can't do these because I want to do some electrics. So the next part is, I believe, assemble and fit the sprung buffers. So I shall source the buffer packet. Okay, so we now have a packet of sprung oleo buffers. I'm not going to fit the buffer heads and the springs. I'm just going to fit the stocks on the basis that I don't want to paint all these parts yet. So we'll keep those in there, trying not to lose the springs, which is going to be easy in here with the grey carpeted floor. So make sure we have those. There we are, I've lost one already. Where'd it go? Oh well, it looks like I'm going hunting on the floor. 1, 2, 3, yeah, there's definitely only 3 springs in there, and that could be anywhere down here, so back shortly. Could be a job for magnets. I found it. It was on the floor in the carpet. I missed it with all my magnets, but eventually with my eyes I found it. So spring safe back in its packet. So where were we before we were so rudely interrupted? Fitting buffers to all the buffer stocks to the buffer beams. Now what I've got to try and do is work out what size we are at, as well as actually there's not that much flashing on them, so it'll probably be alright to go straight on as is. Although the holes aren't exactly straight through them, so I don't know where they were sourced, whether they were homemade or whether they were bought in from somebody else. Still, that's where we are, so let's try and get them mounted on the chassis. So yeah, and then there's a little bit of a clean up on the back of the tailstock. That will make it fit better. So just to clean up with the file. Still not going to fit straight in yet. Still going to have to do some cleaning up of the most of the flashing off the back. So yeah, I'll get trying to drill now to do the buffer beams. Okay, so I've sourced a drill which I shall just open up the holes with. And the buffer beam, there's a little bit of extra material in there. So let's make them all nice and round. So hopefully squeeze in. He does anyway. He does too. He's clamp flusher. So I'm going to have to probably clean these up a little bit on the back with a file. So they all fit in the holes. Put my needle file in here. Should just clean the back faces of the that also ensure a nice clean surface for the glue to stick to. What you can actually see on here, if I'll zoom in close enough, you can actually get the slots of the screws that was used, probably about a 12 BA or something like that, that was used when they made the pattern for the moulding, for the casting. Okay, now what I've noticed is the holes in the back are a bit varied. So what I'm going to do when I glue them in, I'm going to put the hole towards the bottom. So hopefully they may compensate for the slightly out of straight chassis moulding, with the buffer faces being all pointing in the same direction. If you put some pointing up and some pointing down, the buffers are going to be all over the place. So just put a glue on there. Make sure it's all the way around. Hole at the bottom. And it goes. Try and keep it straight before the glue grabs too much. Just got it. Just clean off excessive anything that's leaked out the side. There we have one on, and I shall carry on and do the others. And the last one. So now we have all the buffer stocks up. I shall now grab the instructions and see what the next bit is. So what we're getting now is a petrol can can be glued in the end of this, while I'm going to wait till I've painted it, and also the handbrake mechanism is the next part. So fit the handbrake 6mm in front, well 6mm in front from the same end on each side, but before fitting you will need to thin and trim the mounting to make sure there is clearance for the buffer to move. So you've got to allow clearance for the buffer head out the back. So I'm going to grab a photo just to see what is meant by the same end. Now, is it the right end and the right end, or both on this end? So bear with me, I'll come back with an answer for that one. Okay, so I've confirmed by photographs off the internet they're both at this end, handbrakes. I just started to clean one up and the centre spoke for this wheel went flying off into the great unknown. So I might have a look for that shortly and see if I can glue that back in. So basically these are, now they're cleaned up, just glue on to the back of the sole bar up to that 6mm mark, which I've measured down as per the instructions, and shall glue that in place there. One part I've missed on the cleanup is this face. There we go. Did I get them both? Yeah. Right, so spot of super glue. Six mil in. Just glue that on there. And do the same on the other side. So now we have handbrakes fitted. And that was an easy one. So that's glue then. Right. The next thing is the lights, but I'm not going to do those, so I'm going to see if I can source a way of doing those with LEDs. And the next part from here on in will be the bogie assembly. So I'm going to leave that as this video because I want to go and get some electrical bits and pieces. So I'll catch you next time. If there's any questions, and as usual, please just ask in the comment section and I'll come back to you. And hopefully for the next one we'll get some lights connected up. See you soon.